world searching for gaming knowledge comes the man, the myth, a legend in his own mind, Critical. Welcome back, guys and gals. Critical here. Today I'm doing a Subsistence game guide about the basics of power. Alright, somebody in the forum was having a problem with the basics of Subsistence power system. And I've never done a game guide on it. I always thought it was kind of intuitive, but when I really look at it, it's not even close. So I figured, you know what, let's go ahead and throw a game guide together. So what I'm assuming is that you've gotten to the point that your base is ready for a BCU, and you're trying to get that first BCU put down, and you're trying to figure out how the power works. Basically because you want to say, let's say, make a workbench, right? Because that's probably one of the first things we do. So we put the BCU down. We have that sound of power and some generation. When you first put a BCU down, you're going to have 150 power and 25 mass. Because it's my first BCU, the only BCU for me on the map, I'm getting 0.33 power for free and 0.07 mass for free all the time. Now that stops at 500 and 100. But I want to make a workbench. I've heard that this workbench is really cool and I want to be able to craft stuff on it. I need these components plus 750 power and 120 mass. But how do I get up to 750 power when my max is 100 power, and how do I get to 120 mass when my max mass is 100? That'll gen for free. Just give it time, it's generating for free, but I need to get above that. Well, the first thing you want to do is build a power storage unit. All right, the power storage unit costs 500 power, 100 mass in those components. It provides an additional 500 power capacity, putting me at 1000 power. Now, once the BCU reaches 500, that free power turns off. It's not going to keep generating to whatever your max is. It only generates free power to that 500. So if you want to get above that, you either need a generator, solar panel, or wind turbine. Since we're at the beginning of the game, it's definitely, what we need is a generator. It's the easiest thing to make. It's also pretty cheap. Now, you have to fuel the generator with biofuel. 17 biofuel, what I believe overfills the generator. 16 biofuel fills it all the way up and just leaves a little smidge. Now, there is an override button. I wouldn't use it. You get 2 power for 3 times the fuel. It's not very efficient. So just turn that off. If you turn this thing on, it will keep generating power until all the fuel's gone. If you get above 1000, it doesn't turn off. It just keeps generating fuel and generating power, and now you're losing fuel. So you definitely want to be careful about when you use it. I would say leave it off until your base is at 500 power, and then turn the generator on to get above 500. Okay, so let's say you've done that. You've gotten above 500 power, but you're still missing that mass component. The first thing you need to build to get your mass is a mass storage unit. That provides you an extra 100 mass capacity. So now my mass capacity is at 200, but now I need something to generate mass. The base will stop, the BCU will stop at 100 mass. It won't go above that. So you have to build either a mass fabricator. This converts energy directly into mass, but it's not very efficient at all. It's probably the least efficient thing in Subsistence, and there's no upgrade you can do with it. So for plus 0.2 mass, you spend 2.5 power. Okay, so it's more than, you get 2 for 2.5. That's expensive. You can overdrive that and go 4 for negative 7.5, but look at my power drop. It is dropping like crazy. Now my mass is going up pretty decently, but it's just never going to sustain. It's just not worth it. Let's go and turn that off. Now, the mass fabricator is cheap to make. All right, just those components, 500 power and 100 mass. I would say it's probably best to do the recycler. It takes these components plus 1,000 power and 100 mass. Just wait until your base gens enough power so you can make the recycler. And this is the recycler. Now it too turns power into mass, but it uses items that you place into it to take up some of that mass. So it's not as expensive and your conversion rate is much better. Let's go ahead, and I've got to select items that you may or may not have available to you. Raw meat is 3 mass for 6 power. All right, so it's half and half. You provide 3 mass and it's going to cost you 6 power, so 50%. A cooked steak is also 3 for 6. Now, a burnt steak will give you 4.5 for 9. So I'm getting, it's still 1 steak, but I'm getting more mass for my steak. So if you're going to be using steak because you have all this extra meat laying around, make sure you burn it first. Now a liver, this is cooked, right? Let me double check something real quick. And I think that one's burnt. Yeah, it's a burnt level. Liver. So it's exactly the same as steak. Liver's too expensive. I would never do that. Wood is 1 log, gives you 1 mass for 2 power. It's cheap to get in the beginning of the game, but I'm not sure if it's really efficient to put it into the recycler. 1 piece of fiber gives you 0.5. This is the largest return. For 1 fat, you get 5 mass for 10 power. And so on and so forth. And you have to decide what do you have available to you? What's the one thing that you have a lot of that won't hurt you if you get rid of it? So that's the basics of making power. I've got my single mass storage, my single power storage. I have 1,000 capacity on my power, 200 capacity on my mass, and then I can make a workbench. Now, one thing that you do want to note is if you are crafting stuff and you're using up your power and you've made a refrigerator, if you ever take it to the point where there's no power available, the refrigerator turns off. All this food will spoil. The spoil timer starts back up on all this food. You have to come back over and turn it on. All right, guys and gals, I've been Critical. This has been a game guide for Subsistence, showing you the basics of power. Hope you guys have enjoyed this content. If you have, drop a like, consider subscribing, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Bye.